We're here to talk about Hurricane Irma preparations in the city of Miami, and as you can see, there are many of us working here hard to make sure that our residents and our business owners are safe and well informed. Starting us off is City Manager Daniel Alfonso.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I want to be brief because there's a lot of folks here who have a lot of good information for all of you. But the first thing I want to say is that we're definitely taking this storm very seriously. It is a significant storm, and we are looking like we're in the path of it. So there will be an impact to that storm to the city of Miami. We strongly urge all residents in the evacuation areas to evacuate. There will be no possibility of assisting you if you're in an emergency in the middle of a storm in an area of evacuation. So it is absolutely important that you heed the warnings that are coming out from the County Emergency Operations Center and evacuate an area if you have to. The City of Miami obviously is preparing. We're using our public works resources to drain as much as we can all of the drainage fields that we have. Vector trucks are out there sucking up things. We're continuing, even though we've shut down regular operations in the city for tomorrow and Friday, our city employees that are essential, public works, parks, solid waste, etc., police, fire, are still coming in, and we're still continuing to prepare for the storm. During Thursday, we will have regular trash pickup, that is bulky trash as normal. The bins will be collected. On Friday, if it's safe to do so, we will collect bins. And we're asking residents not to go out there and start trimming trees now and put the debris out. It is kind of late for that, as the mayor and the county also mentioned yesterday. We're past that. We will keep our solid waste staff out there as long as possible, as long as it is safe to do so, to keep the city clean. But please help us out and don't put extra things out there. We will have tomorrow, starting at around 3 p.m. At the Grapeland Water Park, we will have sand and sandbags available for City of Miami residents. We will check your identification. It shows that you're a resident of the City of Miami, and we will issue at least six bags per family to use as long as the supplies last. We're going to have initially 10,000 bags. If we need more on Friday, we're trying to secure more. That's the initial amount. So we would allow the public to do that. And beyond that, our police, fire are here. They're again preparing. We have folks over at the county EOC, and our own EOC will go into a skeleton crew this evening, and possible full activation later on this week, depending on how the storm is looking. We have a number of folks here today with us. Obviously, a lot of our elected officials. We want to recognize the chairman, Mr. Hardiman. We have Commissioners Carollo, Francis Suarez, Ken Russell. Commissioner Gord had a family situation. He could not be here today, and our mayor is trying to make his way back to the city. He was out of the city on travel. We have the state attorney. Thank you, Madam State Attorney, for visiting us here. And also Representative Nick Duran. They have messages that are important as well, and I'd like to give them an opportunity to come up. So, Mr. Chairman.
We found ourselves here again at a time where we're expecting extreme danger to our wonderful city. So at this time, I just want every one of you can hear my voice, if you're watching this image, to think about those of us who are around in our neighborhoods. So if you are someone who is of able body and able mind, and you know on your street you have elderly people, do your best to go to those families, go to those houses and ask if there's anything that they need to help them prepare for this storm. Many of us can't do it ourselves, and so because they cannot, I think it's important that all of us realize that we have to come together to ensure that our neighborhoods are safe. You're going to depend on the city of Miami, our police department, fire department, and other various officials to provide the essentials to you. And so we're asking that you do the same thing and reach out to those who are in your neighborhoods to ensure that they're as safe as well. And so if you do that, I think that all of us as a city, in the city of Miami, we can do our best to avoid extreme danger in this time. I think that we should all heed the warnings of our elected officials and our county officials. If there are evacuation orders, like was said by our city manager, please heed those evacuation orders. I know sometimes we think that we're safe because we live in a very nice place or a place that's secured by hurricane-proof this or that, but understand that sometimes nature does what man cannot. So those hurricane-proof windows that they can stand some hurricanes, this one may be worse than that. So everyone, please, if there's an evacuation order, follow those orders. And first of all, check up on all of the people who are nearest to us that are in the most danger because they're at least able to defend themselves. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Vice Chairman, who has been very active as well and going throughout our city, is here. And maybe he had a little bit of experience today he can talk to us about. So, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Miami is a resilient city. It's a resilience measured not in seawalls and pumps, but in the strength of a community that's coming together during a crisis to weather a storm. As a commissioner for probably the most vulnerable district, with the highest potential for mandatory evacuation, I ask you to please take this very seriously. That if you have someplace safe to go, go. If you choose to shelter in place, take care of each other. Check on your neighbors before the storm to make sure they have what they need. Check on your neighbors after the storm to make sure that they're okay. I have great confidence in our city manager, our police, our fire, our emergency rescue teams. I was very proud to see our emergency rescue team in Houston and East Texas earlier this week, but I'm very glad to see them back home today. We may need them to weather this crisis. And as we hope for the best, I'd like to recognize those who have prepared us for the worst. I spent this morning with our public works team, and it's amazing to see them working around the clock with the vacuum trucks pumping out the remaining storm sewer drains that are clogged so that the water can flow. I spent this morning with our solid waste department, who's making sure that the debris in the streets does not become a projectile. And I spent this afternoon with our homeless outreach team, who over the past 24 hours have placed more than 80 homeless individuals into shelter and out of the danger. And that's resilience. And that's Miami being resilient. So no matter how bad this storm gets, I know we've already passed a certain test. I want you all to be safe, take it very seriously, and take care of each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'd like to also ask Commissioner Carollo to come up. I don't think there's anybody that is here right now who knows the district better than he does. So, Commissioner, you want to address specifically the city, but those residents that you know well?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good afternoon, all of you. The truth of the matter is that this is about preparedness. We have to prepare for the worst, and realistically, yes, we have to make sure that we have certain things in order. For instance, the elderly, please make sure you have your prescription medicines. A lot of times we forget or we're running out. A lot of these stores will not be open. So make sure you have your prescriptions. Families with small children, make sure you have infant formula, diapers, wipes, diaper rash, cream, pets. Can't forget the pets. Also, make sure you have at least 1 gallon of water per day for your pets. Obviously, that goes the same for humans. We need 1 gallon of water per day per person, but that's something that's been said on and on and on. We mentioned about our trash. I think we will still have regular pickup tomorrow, Mr. Manager. However, it seems like we will not have that on Friday. However, I do want to mention that if there is trash that you do want to throwaway. You could go to our dump facilities at 1290 Northwest 20th Street, and you could actually, if you're a city resident, you could throw your bulky trash away there, so it won't clog up our streets. Evacuation zones, we spoke about that. There's 2 evacuation zones in the city of Miami. One is going to be Booker T. Washington, which is 1200 Northwest 6th Street. That's 1200 Northwest 6th Street. And then we also have Charles Drew Middle School, which is 1801 Northwest 60th Street. So those are the 2 evacuation zones that we have in our city of Miami. Obviously, I don't have to tell you about batteries, powered radios and so forth. One last thing I want to mention is, as far as important documents, make sure you have them in some type of plastic bags, insurance documents and so forth, identification, which will also be extremely important. Right now, I have been told that after the storm, we will be using the 311 emergency for any issues that may arise. Obviously, and I'm sure others, Public Works Department will be out there in the streets, once the storm has passed, to see clearing of streets and any issues. But again, I think it starts with preparedness, and I think that's the basic key, the basic thing that everybody needs to take home. We need to prepare for the storm. I did go through Andrew. I was a law enforcement officer during Andrew, and the devastation was incredible. This is a much worse storm. One of the, if not the worst storm that ever hit the Atlantic. At least that's what they're saying. So the key is preparedness. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Commissioner. Very important words. I neglected to point out. Thank you for reminding me about the mini dump. Our mini dump facility is open. Will continue to be open. We'll keep it open through Friday as long as it is safe to be kept open. For Friday, at this time, like I said, we're going to collect the bins, that is the recyclable and the regular trash bins. The bulky waste we're going to handle on an as-needed basis. We're urging people not to put out more tree limbs and more things like that out there. It'll just become projectiles. Commissioner Suarez has been very active as well. I've been talking to him all day. He's been blowing my phone up most of the day, but certainly with important issues. Commissioner, if you want to say something to the folks in your district.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I want to emphasize a couple of the points that my colleagues have already mentioned. One is this is an extremely dangerous storm. They have clocked sustained winds in the 180 mile per hour range. That is life-threatening, and therefore anyone who is preparing for the storm should be taking those preparations extremely seriously if you haven't already made those preparations. I think Commissioner Carollo mentioned some of the facilities that are in the city of Miami that I've gotten a lot of calls about where you can go if there's an evacuation. The manager has stated in the past, throughout the day today, that our cranes in downtown are not secure and will not be coming down before the storm. So it's imperative that if you live anywhere in the vicinity of a crane, you consider evacuating that building, because those cranes are not going to come down before the storm. And I'll let him elaborate more on that. I spent the day, as the Vice Chair said, went by the CompStat meeting of the police department, and our first responders are working very, very hard around the clock to make sure that they're prepared. They will not, as the manager indicated, be out throughout the entire storm. There is a threshold after which they will hunker down. I've spoken to the airport director. No flights will leave when the winds have reached a sustained 35 mile per hour or above. And I've spoken to the director of Jackson Hospital, Director Migoya, and he has indicated that the hospital will be open tomorrow, urgent care will be open, and of course, emergency services will be open throughout the storm. But if you have any sort of hospital-related needs, outpatient will be open through tomorrow, urgent care Saturday, and then emergency-only services will be available 24/7. For the elderly, in my district and in the other districts and in the city, please reach out to us. My personal cell phone is 305-992-3342, 305-992-3342. Many of you have it. Don't hesitate to text me or call me, and I will respond the best that I can to the specific questions. I've been getting texted questions and comments and worries throughout the day, and I've been trying to answer them as efficiently and effectively as possible. Let me just say in Spanish, brevemente, esta es una tormenta extremadamente violenta. Los vientos están sostenidos a llegar a 180 millas por hora. Si nosotros sufrimos un impacto directo, esto puede poner en riesgo las vidas de nuestros residentes, así que se deben de preparar en caso que haya una emergencia de esa gravedad. Le quiero dar las gracias al comisionado Carollo, que él ha nombrado los refugios que están en la ciudad de Miami. Yo creo que él también puede venir aquí en español y renombrar esos refugios en caso que ustedes no tienen un lugar donde hospedarse. Por supuesto, si hay una declaración de evacuación, mi recomendación fuerte es que lo escuche. De nuevo, esta es una tormenta de la más alta categoría y puede jugar en riesgo su vida si uno no escucha a los oficiales que están decidiendo si se va a evacuar una zona o no. Le voy a dejar al administrador hablar sobre edificios que están al lado de sitios de construcción. Nosotros hemos estado todo el día a base de los reportes y las llamadas tratando de asegurar que esos sitios están seguros y que que ningún material de construcción va a ser afectado por los vientos. Por supuesto, muchos de ustedes me han llamado directamente o me han pasado mensajes electrónicos. Mi celular personal es 305-992-3342, 305-992-3342. Si quieren, me pueden mandar mensajes, me pueden llamar y yo hago lo más posible para responder a sus llamadas individualmente, como lo he hecho a través de este día y ayer. Agradezco mucho su atención y por favor, de nuevo, toman esto muy serio. Esto es una tormenta que nunca hemos visto en la historia a nivel del huracán Andrew que tuvimos en el 1992. Todo el mundo en la ciudad de Miami, como función de su trabajo, está tomando las precauciones más serias para asegurar que la vida y propiedad de ustedes están seguros. Gracias.
Thank you, Commissioner. I want to clarify the issue of the cranes. The cranes that you see in downtown Skyline are attached to buildings. And for the purpose of sustaining storms, they are allowed to move freely. The part that rotates will be allowed to move freely. It doesn't get tied down. It is designed that way. However, the cranes, from what the engineers are telling me, are designed to sustain, be able to stand up with winds up to 145 mile an hour of sustained wind, 145. If the wind gets beyond that, then there's no guarantee that the structure will not fail. And that's why we're saying people that are in evacuation zones downtown need to move out. If you are near one of these cranes, it's advisable not to get near the cranes if the wind gets at that speed, but I suspect there shouldn't be people walking around with 145 plus mile an hour winds. But if there's any reporters here who might want to be holding on to a crane somewhere let's not do that. Just keeping that in mind. I see the state attorney is here and she has some comments that she would like to make primarily around the area of what happens with folks who want to take advantage perhaps of some people during these times.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Manager. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for asking me to please come and talk to the community and the City Commission about price gouging. But before I do, I just want to say this city works really hard for us. And so I ask you, please, when they ask and they reach out and they're giving you advice and giving you suggestions on what needs to be done, they're doing so because there's a good reason. So please follow their warnings, and I echo with them that this is a serious storm, which means we have to be working on being safe and being prepared. So once a governor in a state declares a state of emergency, that means it immediately triggers state laws and local ordinances that make gouging both subject to civil regulations and criminal regulations. And so while we know that most people in the state of Florida and in the city, they're great people here. They want to help each other, like the commissioners have all said. Reach out, help a neighbor, bring water to someone down the street. We know there are good people, but we also know that there are charlatans, there are carpetbaggers that would take advantage of people that are desperate, that are thirsty, they want food, they want water, they want ice, and they come from all over the country, really, into our communities. So this message is really for them. The message to them is, we are not going to tolerate price gouging in this community. Simple. And that's particularly on what the law says. The law says that there are average prices on certain commodities that are needed in an emergency. You know what those commodities are: food, milk, ice, water, batteries, flashlights, generators. We're going to be seeing a lot of people coming up, setting up shop on a street corner, I hope I'm wrong, trying to sell $250 generators for $1,000. And people without electricity will do just about anything to get that generator up and running. We've seen this before and other events, and we've had to make arrests. So I want those people that think they can come into this beautiful magic city of Miami or anywhere else in this county and take advantage of people. You cannot. We have a hotline. It is 305-547-3300. It is staffed 24/7. It's a little overwhelmed right now. Since we went up at 5 a.m., we've received upwards of 200 calls. So we're increasing our staffing of it. We also know, I've heard that some of the 311 calls that are coming in are being transferred to our price gouging hotline. We're aware of this. Be patient with us. We set up also an email address. It's called Storm Scams at Miami SAO, just like it sounds. Storm Scams at MiamiSAO.com. What represents gouging? This is kind of the question of the day. It's not just a reasonable increase in a price. So we all know, for instance, after Harvey in Texas, price gases increased. The price of gasoline increased around the country. And that's because our refineries were attacked. Well, that is a reasonable expectation of an increase in price. But when I use the law says it needs to be grossly exceed. That's an exaggerated, exorbitant level of pricing. And I gave you a good example with the generators. So I ask all of you to get that message out in the media, because we know they're going to be coming, but we're going to make it tough for them. The courts may be closed, but the jails are not closed. It is a second-degree misdemeanor if you are arrested and taken to jail for price gouging in this community. Do you want me to say something, Mr. Manager, in Spanish or no? Okay, just a few words in Spanish. Les pido a todos que mantengan la calma y que sepan que aquí estamos todos para ayudarnos y sobrellevar la tormenta. Lo importante es estar seguros, porque la vida es lo único que no se puede reponer. Quiero que sepan que mi equipo de investigadores y anticorrupción está listos con la policía de la ciudad de Miami y también Metro-Dade para responder a cualquier y todas las denuncias de abuso de precios a raíz de la tormenta. Esto incluye cualquier producto necesario por el consumo o uso como resultado directamente de una emergencia de huracán: comida, agua, hielo, químicos, generadores, productos de petróleo, gasolina, propana y madera. Los unimos a los esfuerzos para combatir esas personas, esos charlatantes y negocios que se aprovechan de situaciones trágicas como los huracanes y tormentas para abusar de la comunidad al aumentar los precios innecesariamente a niveles indignantes cuando se trata de las necesidades más fundamentales. Si alguien sospecha de un abuso de precios, por favor, de llamar a la línea de acceso directamente a mi oficina, 305-547-3300. And in conclusion, I just want to wish everybody Godspeed and safety. Get prepared. One last thing about products. We were with the governor this morning and with the U.S. senators, and I know many of you were there from the press, and it's important that the community knows there are resources that are coming in thousands here. FEMA is going to be helping us completely. They have the commitment that the two senators got from them. All kinds of resources in terms of gasoline and water. They're all going to be rebuilding our shelves. So, calma, cuidado, y que Dios te bendiga. Gracias.
Thank you, Madam State Attorney. I'd like to also acknowledge State Representative Nick Duran, who's here, and the state so far has really been wonderful. We've been talking to folks at the state level as well, and they called that emergency pretty early, which allowed us to start pre-positioning resources and know that some of this stuff will be reimbursed, but it's not really as important. Representative?
Afternoon. This is an all-hands-on-deck affair. When a storm of this magnitude and danger comes close to us, we all are and have been coordinating. And really what we're coordinating is our ability to continue to amplify the messages related to preparedness, the messages related to evacuating that our city and county officials are working hard to convey to everybody across our county and cities. And to that extent, one of the most important things that I wanted to point out related to the state is that right now and yesterday, tolls were waived by the Florida Department of Transportation for getting on the highway to evacuate if you need to. So if it is a question of paying tolls, that should not be a way and a reason why you should be delaying an evacuation. The other piece related to evacuation is our coordination that we're working closely with Volunteer Florida in seeing how we can channel some of the energies of our offices, some of our staff, and maybe to help with the evacuation locations and safety zones that are going to be set up across the state. So our message, my message is take this seriously. We are coordinating very closely because of the seriousness of this storm. I want to thank the city manager. I want to thank all our commissioners and all of the city employees here who are really digging in, rolling up their sleeves, and putting a lot of effort into things. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to call Commissioner Carollo back up because he would like to, I would like for him to say some of the things that he said, but in Spanish, because it's an important message of preparedness, and it's important for all of us to hear that too.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Lo que mencioné antes en inglés fue que lo más importante es la preparación. De verdad que esto es un huracán como no se ha visto en la historia de la Florida, especialmente en el Atlántico, así que tenemos que prepararnos. Y varias cosas que creo que es sumamente importante. Para las personas mayores, ten seguro que tengan todas sus medicinas. Muchas de las tiendas, mercados van a estar cerrados, así que por favor, ten seguro que tengan sus medicinas. Para personas que tengan niños, es importante que tengan sus comidas, diferentes artículos para los niños. De nuevo, muchas de las tiendas van a estar cerradas por cierto tiempo, así que por lo menos por 72 horas necesitan tener todas esas cosas, artículos para los niños. También quiero hablar sobre la basura. En la ciudad de Miami, mañana jueves sí se va a recoger la basura, aunque ya no se debe de estar botando las ramas ni nada de artículos de esos grandes al frente de sus casas. Sí vamos a tener abierto mañana de 8 de la mañana a 5 de la tarde un lugar en la ciudad de Miami donde pueden llevar sus ramas, pueden llevar diferentes artículos para botar. Esa dirección es 1290 Northwest 20 Calle, 1290 Northwest 20 Calle. Ahí sí pueden ir de las horas de las 8 de la mañana hasta las 5 de la tarde para botar sus artículos de basura. También las evacuaciones. Hay muchos lugares en la ciudad de Miami que se está pidiendo que se evacúe. Tenemos dos refugios en la ciudad de Miami. Uno es el Booker T. Washington, que está en el 1200 Northwest de la 6 Calle. De nuevo, 1200 Northwest de la 6 Calle. y el otro es Charles Drew Middle, que está en el 1801 Northwest de la 60 calle. 1801 Northwest de la 60 calle. También a mascotas, no podemos olvidar nuestras mascotas, a los perros y los gatos. Tienen que tener 1 galón de agua por perro por gato por día. Así que eso es otra cosa importante que no se nos puede olvidar. Muchas de las otras cosas ya se han mencionado, así que no voy a seguir mencionándolo. Obviamente baterías, agua, 1 galón por persona por día, cosas de esa naturaleza que todos sabemos. Así que antes que nada quiero terminar diciendo que nuevamente lo más importante es la preparación. Estén seguros porque la seguridad pública es primordial. Gracias.
Before I call our fire and police chief, who also have an important message, I'd like to recognize Florida Power and Light is here, and you want to talk a little bit about how we're getting ready?
Good afternoon, everyone. Irene White from Florida Power and Light. We stand here with the City of Miami, ready to restore power safely and as quickly as possible. I think we all understand that given the intensity and the strength of the storm, unfortunately some parts of the electric grid may have to be rebuilt. So I want everyone to know what we all understand is that there will be outages. The extended time of outages will be longer than typical when you look at the strength of these wind fields. We are working diligently with contracts to make sure that we bring in resources from all parts of the United States. We have already secured, as of this morning, 6,700 line resources that will be moving right into our state to help us with this restoration effort, and we are securing more. Also, we are looking at staging sites, which is basically areas where we're able to bring in crews and bring them closer to the damage so those crews can work quickly and be able to restore power safely. We're looking at 22 of those. We've already identified here in Miami-Dade County 5, and we're in the process of making sure that they're ready to go so that these crews, when they get here, they can get to work safely and quickly as possible. So we stand here with the City of Miami. As you know, there is a restoration prioritization, which is all about the critical infrastructure, things that are important to all of us, our hospitals, water plants, 911 centers, police stations. Those will be restored first, and that will be our prime focus. So for all of our customers, we will be here until the very last person is back on with power. And there's a lot of people who maybe haven't gone through a major hurricane. So we ask you to please listen to your officials. Your local officials are giving you great suggestions and tips, and heed all cautions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate the partnership and obviously look forward to having as little interruption of power as possible. Chiefs?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. My name is Joseph Zeralman. I currently serve as the fire chief for the City of Miami. Obviously, as you've heard today, the message of the day, the message of the week is prepare, have a plan. And we don't only preach that to the community, but we practice it as well. The very first thing we do with our personnel is we expect them to have a plan. And we expect them to execute the plan because we understand that our first responders are first and foremost here for the community. And in order for them to be here for the community, they have to be reasonably assured that their families are safe, because we can't have them out in the street trying to help those in need while they're worrying about what could have possibly happened to their family. But we also do it organizationally. We work to prepare to protect our critical infrastructure so that it is up and running during and after a storm, so that we have facilities to respond out of to ensure that we meet the needs of our residents. In addition to that, and I'm going to go over some brief elements of planning that we conduct. We have cut teams in place. These cut teams are designed to go out immediately after the storm, open major arteries, major roadways, and ensure that emergency response vehicles can get to the hardest hit areas of the city. We also have high water vehicles. These vehicles are exactly what I just described. They are intended to be able to go into areas where normal vehicles normally could not access. And I'm pleased to say that we deployed them in Texas. They worked very successfully in taking our rescuers around Houston and the Beaumont area in order to provide aid to the citizens out in Texas. And approximately 1 hour ago, they returned to Miami. So they are here, they're being cleaned up, and they're ready to deploy again. Additional rescue tools and additional personnel in each of the fire stations. We ensure that we have ample provisions in order to meet the needs, to meet the 911 calls that come during and after a storm. There was some mention before about 35-mile-per-hour winds, 35, 40 miles per hour. This is true. This is a guide that we use to determine when it is safe for us to go out and when we need to pull the rescuers back. But it's also important to point out that we don't use that as a hard and fast rule. What we do is we empower our on-ground commanders to make those decisions, and they weigh risk versus benefit. And if they have an incident where they believe they can reasonably save life and they believe it is worth the risk, they will go out. We're also having discussion with our area hospitals. Most recently, we've been advised that Mercy is currently evacuating their facility and they are distributing their patients to other hospitals. So this is important information for us, and we constantly maintain situational awareness as to which hospitals are available and what their actual capability is. Cranes were mentioned. We currently are and have been visiting construction sites, because it's not only the cranes, but it's all of the debris around construction sites. So in coordination with the building department, we go out there, we educate the builders as to what constitutes a safe area, a safe structure, or at least how to make it as safe as possible and not contributing to the projectiles that occur during a storm. We send out rapid needs assessment teams. Immediately after a storm, we send teams out to determine exactly what are the hardest impacted areas of the city, and this allows us to ensure that we get our resources to the greatest area of need. Urban Search and Rescue Team. We are fortunate in South Florida to have 2 of the federal urban search and rescue teams. One of them lies here with the city of Miami, the other one with Miami-Dade County. So they are in very close proximity. These are teams that have gone out on no less than 12 or 13 similar major national disasters. They are very experienced and they are very capable. We will have them stood up, we will have them on standby, and we will have them ready to respond. Most importantly, when we bring all of our assets to bear, we might have a few hundred, 750, 800 responders ready to go within the Department of Fire Rescue. But when you talk about a disaster potentially of this magnitude, the number of rescuers that you need tend to be in the thousands. That has been our experience. And most recently in Texas, I had the privilege of being out there with the team. We saw that. We deployed thousands of rescuers to that incident. And one of the most important things in an incident of that magnitude is having the agency having jurisdiction, in this case the city of Miami, prepared to receive the aid that is coming through local, state, and federal agencies and ensure that we are able to deploy those resources effectively. So we have been spending a lot of time on this planning. We have been developing incident action plans, and when the resources come, we will be able to use them effectively. Again, I'll end as I began, which is the message of preparation. We prepare, everybody in the city prepares, we ask you to prepare, so please have a plan, practice the plan, and be committed to the plan. Thank you very much for your time, and with that I'd like to introduce Assistant Fire Chief Pete Gomez, who currently serves as the city's emergency manager.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Manager, elected officials. Thank you for supporting us. The message we want to send out to the community, I'm going to echo what everybody behind me has said already, is preparation. We ask the community to take this event very seriously. It's a Category 5 hurricane. Those are, as we sit right now, it's in the upwards of 185 miles an hour with gusts of over 225 miles per hour. I believe Commissioner Suarez mentioned it. We haven't seen anything like this. Andrew wasn't this bad. And if this hurricane continues in its path, the city of Miami is going to bear some of the effects that you're going to see. I'd like to echo what the fire chief said. We've been preparing. All of our personnel have prepared and they're ready for this event to take place. But we can't do it by ourselves. We have a whole team standing behind me. Every single department in this city has been preparing. We've had multiple meetings. We've coordinated what's going to happen, what's going to take place. Once this event happens, we have plans in place on how to get out there and make sure that the community is safe, that we can operate the streets so that fire rescue can get to the patients, so that police can do the patrolling, so that sanitation can get to do what they're doing, public works can clear the streets. So it's a team effort, and believe me, we got a pretty good team behind me in place. Muchas gracias, y estamos aquí para decirle, muy importante, este huracán es un huracán muy grande, tiene mucho riesgo, ahora mismo tiene unas millas por hora de 185 millas por hora. Los vientos estos son muy graves. Le estamos diciendo a todo el mundo que se preparen para este huracán, no tomen esto como si fuera un evento muy mínimo, es muy grave. Y le estamos preguntando a todo el mundo que se prepare. Si necesitan medicina, que estén seguros que tengan sus medicinas. Si tienen las mascotas, prepárense para evacuar con las mascotas. Si están en la zona de evacuación, empiecen esa preparación ahora, porque si tienen que salir del estado de la Florida, se va a tomar mucho tiempo y tenemos que empezar esos procesos ahora mismo. Con eso le digo a todo el mundo que se preparen, estén listos para el huracán y les garantizo que la ciudad de Miami va a estar preparado para este evento. Muchas gracias.
Deputy Police Chief Luis Cabrera will talk a little bit about the preparation of the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'll be really brief. A lot has been said already. So the Miami Police Department is carefully monitoring Hurricane Irma. We're working closely with the fire department, with our counterparts in Miami-Dade County, the state, and the federal levels in order to keep our residents safe during this storm. We urge the public in advance to prepare to use safety and security for their families and their personal property. We recommend that you have enough water, food, and essentials to sustain yourself for the next 72 hours before and during the storm and after the storm. We are seeking the public to continue monitoring the news outlets for updates of the storm as it passes and during the storm. For non-emergency incidents, please call our number 305-579-6111. You also can call us at 311, which will be forwarded from the county to the city. For emergencies, please dial 911. Our on-duty Miami Police Department personnel are here to protect life, property, and maintain order within our community. We have, and I want to assure you, we have appropriate levels of police services that will be maintained before, during, and after the storm. Public safety is our main priority, and I will ensure, and the department will ensure, that our public is safe and sound before and during the storm. We are currently in the initial stages of the hurricane and severe weather plan. Our response plan has been implemented during different stages of the hurricane. We are prepared to proceed through the middle and the ending stages of our plan as necessary. We here at the Miami Police Department are ready and well prepared to protect our public and to ensure the safety of our residents. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much. I think for the English portion, we're done. Para nuestros televidentes de Telemundo y otras personas de habla hispana, simplemente quiero decir que esto es una tormenta que se acerca, que es muy fuerte y tenemos que tomar en serio esta situación. Por favor, hagan lo que se les pide cuando se les pide que hay que evacuar ciertas áreas. Nuestro departamento de desperdicios va a estar trabajando mañana el día entero. El viernes vamos a prestar servicio a la ciudad desde el punto de vista de recoger los tanques de basuras. Por favor, no corten más árboles y los pongan en la calle. En este momento ya es muy tarde para hacer eso. Nuestra ciudad estamos haciendo todo lo posible para recoger toda la basura que hay en la calle. No queremos que hayan proyectiles por sí, pero es una batalla que no podemos terminar si ustedes no nos ayudan también. Nuestro departamento de desperdicios también va a mantener abierto en 1290 Northwest de la 20 calle, un lugar donde usted puede llevar objetos grandes. Si alguien se va a mudar este fin de semana y quiere sacar muebles, ese es un lugar donde lo pueden botar. Anything else you wanted me to say? We're good to go? I'm sorry? The cars? If you're in a downtown evacuation area, as you evacuate, if you're moving to a friends and family place, you take your car with you. The event that we're expecting right now, from my understanding, I guess they want me to say in Spanish. Whatever. The event that we're expecting, and I can call Chief Gomez back up here, but it's not primarily a flood event, although we expect a surge and we expect there to be coastal flooding. Our concern primarily, I believe, is the windstorm at this time. So, you know, if you have a car, obviously if you live in a low-lying area to be evacuated, if you leave it street side, it may get flooded. If you have an ability to park in a parking garage, don't do a submerged, you know, underneath parking garage. Try to go above. Our city cars will go up floors. But you want to talk a little bit about what possible impact?
Yeah, we're not anticipating this to be the floods that we saw in Texas and in Houston. This is a pretty fast-moving, 14 to 16 miles an hour, so it's going to blow by here pretty quickly. It is going to dump some water. We're looking at some flooding, but you know, it's not expected to be that kind of rain event. It's more of the wind. Those 185 mile an hour with over 225 mile an hour gusts. That's the scary part.
What kind of storm surge are you expecting at this point?
At this point, they haven't come out with a strong storm surge yet. We're fortunate where our topography is a little bit different than what you see in the Gulf of Mexico, so we're not going to see those 20, 30-foot storm surges. I've heard 6, 7 feet storm surges, which, you know, when you got 4-foot walls, doesn't affect you real bad. But again, we could have the possibility of some storm surging, some flooding, but I don't think we're going to see anything to the effect of what we saw in Houston. But we are going to see wind like they did not see in Houston.
Perdón, las rutas de evacuación. El condado está proveyendo los lugares donde las personas que son evacuadas tienen que mudarse. No estamos en este momento pidiéndose que tienen que irse del estado, por lo cual las rutas de evacuación en realidad son, si usted vive al este de Biscayne Boulevard, le están dando una dirección en una escuela del sistema escolar nuestro que está ciertas millas hacia adentro. Obviamente las calles principales son nuestras rutas de evacuación. Eso está disponible en el website del condado, miamidade.gov, o llamen al 311 para recibir esa información. Yes, sir.
Regarding parking, if you have a vehicle and you live in an at-risk place, the City of Miami has a program together with the MPA, the Miami Parking Authority, where each resident is allowed one car to be stored in one of the municipal garages. It's called the MVP program. Now, we're already at capacity with that program. Hundreds of spots have already been registered and taken. But I just spoke with the director, Art Noriega, who's looking to extend the program. So if you have a car and it's at risk, one car per household, you can go to miamiparking.com and register there today. If the program is expanded till tomorrow, you'll be able to come downtown to the headquarters and get a placard if there is space. But what my recommendation is, first come, first served. Please go and register at the site for any spaces that open up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you all.